I am so excited to speak to our guest today. She's a medical doctor that specializes in aesthetics, all the way from Capitol Hill. Please help me to introduce Dr. Dyson.
Hi there.
Hi, Dr. Dyson. How are you today?
I'm great. And you?
Good, good. I can't wait to get into the interview, so let's just go right with it.
All right.
Hi, my name is Jonathan McLean, and I'm the founder and CEO of McLean Aesthetics.
Welcome to the dark side.
Let's go.
So, Dr. Dyson, tell the audience where you are right now.
I'm in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill. I'm 6 blocks from the Capitol.
Nice, nice. And how is that area, would you say, for aesthetics?
There aren't many people on Capitol Hill that do what I do, so it's kind of wide open here. But in D.C. in general, there are many aesthetic practices, and more people are jumping into the game.
Nice, nice. When I think of DC, like it doesn't automatically come up as like one of the hot spots for aesthetics. But lately I've been doing so much research and kind of learning a little bit about it. And it's so many practices, like you said, and it seems like it's growing more and more each day there.
Yes, I would say that in general, people are more conservative in DC than other states like California or Florida, especially Miami, where it's really a thing. But DC, they're kind of low key and rather conservative.
Now let's rewind back to the beginning, right? How did you get started in aesthetics? I know we were talking a little bit behind the scenes, and I was like, wow, your story is so interesting. I would love for you to share with the audience. So tell us a little bit about how you got started in aesthetics and what drove your passion for it.
I would say it's a combination of divine intervention and evolution. I really had no intention whatsoever of doing aesthetics. I was a conventionally trained MD in internal medicine, which is what I did my residency in. But as time grew on, I was in primary care practice. I became very unhappy with the reimbursements from the health insurers, and I was looking for something else that I could do and still be an MD. So I initially started doing bariatrics, which is weight loss. And then in 2004, a colleague called me and told me about a French physician that was training some doctors in mesotherapy. Some people say mesotherapy, but in California. So it's like a handful of doctors. And my then husband said, well, I'll pay for it. It seems to go along with what you're doing already. You're already doing weight loss, so you might as well do injections into fat and dissolve fat. It was complimentary. So I went to California to learn mesotherapy, and lo and behold, the French physician trained me in Botox and fillers. I had no intention whatsoever of getting that training or doing anything with it. So when I came back to DC and tried to order Botox from Allergan, they were like, well, who trained you? I said, a French physician. They said, oh no, you have to go through our network. So I trained with plastic surgeon Dr. Dean Kane in Botox, and then I went to an aesthetic institute and I trained in fillers. And now we're years later, fast forward, I'm 20 to 25 training courses in and 18 plus years of experience. So that was my path, and it continuously grows and it continuously changes.
Was it easy for you to kind of pick up what the aesthetic industry was trending and kind of what procedures were trending back then?
I would say there was no blueprint. This is a path that it was kind of made up as we were going along back then. There were some physicians that were doing like laser treatments, some injectors. I think I was one of the beginning, on the beginning of the injections, because Botox just became used for cosmetic purposes in 2002. And I've been doing it since 2004. So I was at the beginning of it, and no one knew what it was going to become. And it's still growing and becoming, something different every day. Always something new to learn.
So many new technologies, so many new product lines, pharmaceutical reps, so many new things just popping up and changing the way that people see themselves and able to treat patients.
Yes. Always something new. And you have to keep up.
Yeah.
But I also like to separate myself from everybody else. I don't want to do what everybody else is doing. I want to have my own niche. I want to do something that's different, that's cutting edge, that's innovative. So I'm always looking for those things that set me apart.
Nice, definitely. Now, you have actually built up your own practice now. Tell us what you are doing to kind of separate yourself now from everyone else.
Well, the procedures that I do are different. I'm probably the first physician in Washington, D.C. to do a procedure that's called PRF gel, and it uses your own body. What we do is we draw your blood. We end up with two different vials of blood. One we spin at a higher repetition, RPM, the other one lower speed. And the first two, we separate out the PRF and we put it in a heater. That one becomes a gel. The second tube, we use the growth factors. We spin it down, we get the growth factors. Then we mix those two together and we can use it as a filler. So I can use it under the eyes, I can use it in the cheeks, I can use it in the smile lines, the lips, the chin, pretty much everywhere except the forehead. I don't inject it there. So it rejuvenates the skin, it stimulates collagen, it rejuvenates the fat, because we lose fat as we grow older, we lose bone, we lose muscle, collagen, everything. So it's using our own bodies to regenerate our bodies. Who knew that the fountain of youth is within?
Yeah, that's amazing, because I find that so amazing that you can actually use your own, what you're actually making, to rejuvenate yourself. It's super cool, and super innovative.
And no one can say anything negative about it. For the first time, I can say I have a procedure that is all natural and 100% safe, and it has absolutely no additives. So you can't object to it. The only objection that you probably could have is you don't like to get your blood drawn, or you faint when you see blood, something like that. But other than that, it's you, and you look natural. You don't look overly done. So that's one of the new procedures that I've been doing. That's been maybe 8 to 12 weeks in that I've been doing PRF gel. The second thing that I've done that separates me from everyone else is I do what's called a Bella Vita Instant BBL. And that is a non-surgical Brazilian butt lift. And it's done in the office, and it can be done within 30 minutes to an hour. And it's great for like thin females who have no fat to transfer to the butt area, or people that have medical issues. One of my patients had a brain aneurysm, so she couldn't go under the knife. But she could get the instant BBL. So it's good for people like that, or people that just don't want to go through surgery, don't want to go through all the post-op care that you have to go through, the massages, the garments, the special little seat cushions, the whole recovery. So it's good for people that don't want a long recovery and they want instant results. So those are the two new things among everything else that I do.
I know the non-surgical BBLs down here in South Florida is becoming very popular. Tell me a little bit about that. I'm very interested to know a little bit more about it. There's some patients that get a non-surgical BBL after they already had a BBL because they want a more rounder look. And there's some patients that they'll go for it and they're like, I didn't see the results I'm looking for. Who would kind of be ideal for it, I guess, in that aspect? And what results can they expect from that?
So I actually trained in the Bella Vita Instant BBL in South Florida, in Miami. My trainer was MnA&yt Silveda, and she created the Bella Vita Instant BBL. So the reason someone may not be satisfied with it is because of the product that was used. So if they got a hyaluronic acid filler, which is very expensive, it takes a lot of syringes, and it just doesn't last, then they would say a non-surgical BBL doesn't work. But if they got the Bella Vita Instant BBL, and in the past, and I still do for some people who want it, I also use Sculptra. Those are more long lasting. The Bella Vita Instant BBL lasts 2 to 5 years, and Sculptra lasts around 2 years. You can extend the length of time that they last if you do like touch-ups in between. So you can extend it. It's good for people who've already had the surgical BBL and they want to add more volume. It's good for people, like I said, that have medical issues and they can't undergo surgery. And it's good for people, you know, thin people as well.
That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing, especially for people that, like you said, can't get surgery, you know, and that's their only option. And it sounds like, and I'm very familiar with the injector that you mentioned, and her results are amazing. So I can definitely understand.
And we use Radius, which is what you call a biostimulator. So it stimulates collagen, but it also stimulates elastin, which gives us our skin that bounce back. And there's no product that does that. And also it lasts for a long period of time. So that's what we're using. We're not using hyaluronic acid fillers like Juvederm or Restylane or something of that nature.
For sure, for sure. Now, I wanted to talk about the health and wellness side. Hormone replacement has become so popular, and a lot of med spas are joining those two bridges together. Tell me a little bit about your opinion on HRT, hormone replacement, and is it the new future for aesthetics? Like, is it going to be combined together?
Well, that's why my motto is inner health, outer beauty, which is also the name of my broadcast. It goes together because I feel I've been using compounded bioidentical hormone replacement therapy for the past 18 years. I feel that it slows the aging process. It doesn't stop you from aging, but I'm definitely not aging as fast as my counterparts. And I really found that out a couple weekends ago at my 50th high school reunion, that I look much younger than a lot of my classmates. Yeah. So it affects a lot of different things, because when you go through menopause and your estrogen declines, it affects the skin. And it's more rapid, the decline in aging during menopause, because estrogen talks to the skin. So bioidentical hormone replacement therapy helps to slow the whole aging process. But also, the estrogen talks to almost every part of your body. It talks to the brain, it talks to the heart, it talks to the lungs, it affects your metabolism. It increases the brain chemicals, what we call neurotransmitters, to the brain. It talks to the bladder, to the bone. So women get osteoporosis after menopause. A lot of things that we are seeing are from lack of estrogen. And when estrogen declines, it actually puts you in an inflammatory state. So for me personally, when I went through menopause and my estrogen went down, the inflammatory state caused me to have joint pains and headaches, among a multitude of other symptoms. So I have palpitations, joint pain, inability to sleep, frequent urination, hot flashes, you name it, I had it. And when I went on compounded bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, within 3 to 4 weeks, all of my symptoms were gone. And I lived my life much the way I lived in my 40s. I don't live, and I'll tell you my age, I'll be 68 next month.
No.
Yes. So I don't live my life like a 68-year-old woman. I lived my
Yeah.
life as a 40-something. So I attribute that to compounded bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. Now that is different from what they call HRT. When they are referring to HRT, they're usually referring to synthetic hormone replacement therapy, which is conjugated equine estrogen, which comes from pregnant horses. That is not what I'm using. I am using, it comes from actually yam or either soy, and it's modified to be identical to what we as women produce prior to menopause. So it is estradiol, and it is measurable. The conjugated equine estrogen that they give to women is not measurable. It metabolizes into over 20 different things that you can't measure, and it passes through the liver, and that is why it causes strokes and heart attacks, because it causes clotting when you take it by mouth. This is given through the skin, so it's a totally different ball game. But I replace both estrogen and progesterone. But as we age, if we want to be healthy and we want optimal health, we need to balance our hormones as we get older as well. It's not just about how we look on the outside, it's also about keeping everything in balance on the inside as well.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Why do you think more people don't know about this? This is so life-changing.
I actually testified at the National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine on the clinical utility of compounded bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. That's a mouthful. But, and I was just so sure that they were going to be for it. But actually, they came out against it, against its use. And I think it has to do a lot with the pharmaceutical industry. These compounded bioidentical hormone replacement therapies, they're not patented. So what I use is called the Wiley protocol. The only thing that's patented about it is the delivery system, but you can't patent the actual hormone itself and how it's made. You know, anybody can make it in a lab. Just modify the yam or modify soy and make it identical to what we produce as women. I think it's mainly a money thing, but people try to say it's dangerous to use it. I've looked at a very large study. It was almost 700,000 women. It was a Danish study, because I wanted to make sure before I prescribed it that it was pretty safe thing to do. And what they found in the Danish study, they looked at all types of hormone replacement, giving it orally, giving it intravaginally, giving it through the skin, giving the two things together, estrogen and progestin. They looked at it every kind of way, and they had a large registry. So they know when women went into menopause, which is around 51, and they followed them. And what they found is if you give it intravaginally, it reduced the risk of heart attack by 44%. And if you give it through the skin, it reduced the risk of heart attack by 38%. And the lead researcher for that study was Ellen Lockhart. She said she did not believe that it increased the risk of heart attack, strokes, or blood clots, any of the things that the study in the America showed. And what she actually said was she believed it reduced those things. But no one wants this information to be widespread and widely known among women, and they're mainly afraid of it, mostly afraid.
Yeah, no, I can only imagine. I can definitely, I mean, I haven't seen that firsthand, but I can imagine that exists behind closed doors, honestly. Now, I wanted to, because I know we were talking about health and wellness, but I wanted to go back to aesthetics real quick, just based on what you just said. I feel as though there's kind of like a stigma around the industry in the aesthetic industry. A lot of people think it's very easy to get into. It's very fun industry. It's quick money, things of that nature. Can you explain kind of your point of view on that and why that maybe isn't true, or what you think about that?
I think people want to get into it for what you said, for the money, but I think you should do what you love and you should do what you have passion for. That I don't think if you're only driven by money, that that's good enough to be successful in this particular field. I mean, you could be technical, but I'm an artist. And I found, and quite by accident, like I told you, I stumbled into aesthetics, you would say, or it fell in my lap, whichever way you want to put it. But I found that I had a natural gift for it and that I'm an artist. I'm an artist and a scientist. So it's a joy that I get from doing it. And it's not just that I want to come in and I want to drive this so I can get a certain amount of money, although money is nice, but that's not the primary driver. It's my love of aesthetics and my joy in doing it and seeing someone look younger and improving their self-esteem. I have one patient that for 13 years, her husband died. For 13 years, she didn't have a mate of any kind. She wasn't dating. And I did her face and she felt so much better. She got a boyfriend and now she has a ring. She's going to get married. She just feels way different about herself. So it can really, I underestimated the power of changing someone, how they feel, how when you look in the mirror and you like what you see. That's important too. It's not just, it's both, you know, it's inner health and it's outer beauty. They both work together.
I like how you put that. Changing lives, literally. It's no, seriously. People's confidence, everything, especially how you feel on the outside, how you feel on the inside. It's a combination, I think.
Yes.
Sure.
And they go together because if your health is poor, you know, and you're sick, you're not going to look good on the outside. So you've got to deal with both of them.
Do you feel as though I've been reading a lot of articles lately, and one of the common things is they say it's kind of a sort of a little bit of mental health that is involved around the aesthetic industry. Do you feel mental health play any role in aesthetics?
In what way? Do you mean people have mental health issues that do it, or?
I would just say, like, with body dysphoria, as far as body dysmorphia is concerned.
That can be true. And I call it a Michael Jackson syndrome. You know, like you look fine as you are, and then you just keep going and keep going until it's like deformity or something. You know, you look odd and strange. There is a balance that needs to be achieved and all that. And I like for my patients to look natural. And as I said, in DC is very conservative, and they don't want to look what we call Holly weird. They want to look natural. So that's why also I'm always searching for procedures that help them to look natural without looking overly done. So that's how I came up with the PRF gel. I also had another procedure that I brought on, which was plasma sculpt. And that's also very natural in the result. And I also do what's called smooth threads. And they're just little tiny needles. They look like acupuncture needles. And they have a little tiny thread that's left behind after I put them in. And that stimulates collagen and helps the crepey neck and also helps to tighten the skin. You can even use it on the abdomen and other parts of the body, like the arms or the thigh area.
Wow.
So I'm always coming up with something new, something innovative, something more natural that would be received better by the patients that I have in conservative Washington, D.C.
Wow, that's great. I would love to be your patient. If you're trying new things, I'm like, I could try this, I could do this. I don't have to do this option. That's what it's about, honestly.
And I do most of it on myself, the things that I can do.
Yeah.
There's some things that I'm not logistically able to do, you know. But what I can do, I do to myself as well. So I've done most of these procedures. I've experienced them myself. And again, that's also part of slowing down my aging process.
For sure, for sure. How do you combat, I guess, patient expectations? Like, how do you translate that? If our patients, like, how do you make sure that they're not unsatisfied and that they're not unrealistic?
That's what you say on the front side. You have to talk to them. I tell them, say for instance, if I'm injecting fillers, I tell them I estimate that you need 1 filler per decade of life, but that's not written in stone. And the analogy that I like to use is like going to the gasoline station and your gas gauge doesn't work and you're going to put gas in your tank. So you don't know if your tank is 3/4 full, half full, a quarter, or empty. And so when I'm doing the fillers, I can estimate if you're 60, you need 6 fillers, but you may need more and you may need less depending on how you respond to it. And I also make sure that I take before and after pictures because a lot of times people will say, nothing changed. And then I can show them, yes, this changed, you know?
Yeah.
So it's managing the expectations, it's taking pictures, it's talking to them and making sure they understand, but it also is not under correcting. So if a patient comes in and you say you need 6 syringes, but you say I only want to get 1. If you just inject 1 syringe, they're going to be very unhappy because it's not going to achieve the result that they desire. So it's all in that. It's all in the consultation and how you explain to them up front what they need. And I have to tell them, they tell me what they want and I tell them what they need.
I like that. I like that a lot. Now, doing some research behind the scenes, I've seen so many articles that you've written, and you have your new podcast out right now that people can actually go and watch. Tell me, how important is it to put the information out there for other people to learn from?
I think it's super important. And it's a live internet TV broadcast. So it goes over, it streams in 178 countries worldwide. So it goes out on social media and it goes out on YouTube and other stations around the world. I want to give information. I want people to understand these procedures, but I also want them to understand more about health. Just like we just talked about the compounded bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, I want them to be educated around that. But I also like to shatter a lot of myths that surround health. For instance, my most recent live internet TV broadcast was on foods and rethinking healthy eating. What we think of as healthy may not be healthy for the individual. So I brought a physician on that does a test, and what we do is we draw your blood and they test your blood against over 500 different food items, environmental toxins, and food additives to see what your body is reacting to see what your body actually doesn't like. And it's different things in different patients. It can be tomatoes in one patient. It can be berries. I had one patient that had food sensitivities to every type of dairy and every type of sugar, including honey, cane sugar, sucanat, every type of sugar you named. None of those sugars did his body like. So I want to introduce more knowledge and more understanding of health, all things health, and all things beauty, but mainly non-surgical cosmetic procedures.
For someone looking to take that test, that sounds really interesting. Where can they go and get that done?
They can call my office to get it done. If they look at the podcast, it's not really a podcast, it's live internet TV. If they look at the live internet TV, it's on my Facebook, which is Wanda Dyson, or Change for Life Wellness and Aesthetics. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I put the number on there and the website that they can contact the doctor that created the test. They're actual local. They're in Virginia, not far from here. And they can find a practitioner in their area. And they can get a phlebotomist to draw their blood there. They can get the test sent to them and then have it sent back to DC, well, to Virginia, and do the process with the test. So it's possible, it's doable. I think New York has some funny regulations about certain testing that you can't do here. But most other states would allow you to do it.
That's super interesting. I find that because a lot of people say, hey, I'm not having luck losing weight the traditional way. And a lot of people are like, well, no, you just have to do this, but they seriously can't lose weight the traditional way. And what you're saying makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. It might be a different way that they can lose weight. It's not the regular way that everybody else can.
It could be the foods that they're eating that their body doesn't like. And when the body is under stress, it produces the stress hormone, which is called cortisol. And that causes you to accumulate more fat on the body. So that could be a reason. But I didn't mention this to you before, I've also authored a book, and it's called How to Be Healthy. It's Not What You Think. And it's about sleep. If you don't get adequate sleep, that also makes it very difficult to lose weight. And if you do attempt to lose weight, you will lose more muscle than fat. Not getting enough sleep also causes cravings. And guess what you would crave? Pizza, ice cream, potato chips, all the most fattening foods that will sabotage your ability to lose weight. So there are many things that are connected that we don't realize are connected. And the first thing I do, because I still do weight loss, I told you I started doing bariatrics as I was coming out of primary care. I still do weight loss with my patients. The first thing I have them do is sleep at night. That's not fun. I don't even try to embark on the weight loss experience until they're sleeping.
Nice. So sleep is very important. Where can someone pick up that book if they're interested in reading it?
It has its own website, and it's called How to Be Healthy. It's Not What You Think. So they can just Google that in, and it'll come up, and they can purchase the book. So I wear many hats. I'm an artist and a scientist, so I do both.
Did you have any art background just by chance before you even got into college? Did you have any art background back then?
Not at all. And I would say, and I didn't mention this before, for me, aesthetics is also intuitive. It's just something that I know to do or do it a certain way. And I was doing a training with, she's actually a nurse injector, and she developed this technique called the art derma artistic technique, something like that. And I was taking a training with her, and I was the first to inject. And when I started to do it, she says, "Oh, that's perfect. That's excellent." And so then I just turned to her and I said, "It's intuitive." And then she looked back at me. She said, "For me too." So there are other aspects of this. Some of it is a natural gift, and I can't explain it. That I just know to do it a certain way, and it turns out wonderfully.
I understand that completely, 100%. I feel like when it's something that you're supposed to do, it just comes naturally for you, and it's just there. So
And I never on my own would have done this. That's why my favorite saying is, "Man plans and God laughs." So this would have never been my plan that I'm going to do aesthetics. I had no intention whatsoever of doing aesthetics. I think the first thing I wanted to do was pediatrics, and then maybe OBGYN. So I'm far from what that initial intention was, but I'm very happy in this space. I love doing what I'm doing, and my work feels like play.
And that's how you know you made it. When your work feels like you enjoy and you go there every day, that's all you can ask for, right?
Yes.
Yes. Now we talked a lot about different specialties and different things that you can do in the aesthetic industry. When that kind of leads me back to training, which is super important. I feel like, how important is training to you, and what type of trainings could you suggest to the audience?
I think training is paramount. I think first, before you start going down the training road, you have to figure out what it is you want to do, because there's so many things that you can do in aesthetics. You can do lasers, you can do fillers, you can do, like I'm doing, the instant BBL. I mean, you can do so many things. So you have to decide, first of all, you have to kind of like narrow it down and say, this is what I think I'm interested in doing. But I find some people are all over the place. They just want to get into aesthetics, but they're not sure exactly what they want to do. Mine just unfolded. It was just a natural unfoldment. I had no idea what I would, end up doing, but it unfolded naturally. But I would say they need to know what it is they want to do, first of all, and then start training in that particular thing. How to get that training. Say you wanted to inject Radius and you started to order Radius, the filler. A lot of times they will come and bring, the trainer to you, and you can learn maybe at minimal cost or no cost at all. It depends on what product it is. So that's one way of doing it. The catch-22 of it all is you need experience, but it's hard to get experience without doing it. And then someone needs to give you a chance to gain the experience. Someone has to hire you to do it when you have no experience. For me, I didn't have those hurdles because it was within my practice that I evolved. So I was learning. I already had a practice, I already had patients, and I was learning and evolving within my practice, and I wasn't depending on someone else to hire me to do it. But someone who's just coming out of maybe nurse practitioner school or a dermatologist, I think they do have some more aesthetic trainings within aesthetics now, or plastic surgery, because a lot of plastic surgeons also do injections. In fact, some of them maybe only do surgery a few days out of the week, and the other days they're doing injections. So depending on what's offered now in the course structure, it would depend on what you come with already. But if it's not offered, then you would have to go get it yourself.
Gotcha. What are some tips that you can give to a new provider that are entering the industry and they're having a tough time getting their first job?
See, I don't know, because I never had to get a job. I couldn't tell them what to do to get a job. I would say try to find someone that would give them a chance to come in and inject. Maybe they need to do an apprenticeship of some sort, that they would come in, they would learn without getting paid. But most people, after they finish school, they have a lot of student loans and they need, money to come in. They can't afford the luxury of doing an apprenticeship for no money. But it's kind of hard to get in the game without experience, unless you've got someone that can bankroll you,
Yeah, for sure.
A sugar daddy or a sugar mama, then you can get into it. But most people don't have that, or take out a big bank loan, to support them while they're learning.
I can agree.
I learned on the job, so I don't know. Those are my only suggestions.
Yeah, I think they do. Like right now, there isn't really a program that I would say is certified that people can go through right out of school to learn aesthetics. But I think the industry needs to trend towards that, because there's not enough providers. There just simply isn't enough people to work inside or to meet the demand of all the clientele right now. So many people are interested.
But even that would be constantly changing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever curriculum we put together, even say if I was a part of it, which I doubt that I will take the time to do something like that. But say I was in a part of it, that curriculum would be a evolving curriculum, because there's always something new going on. Like there's Radiesse, and they use it as a filler, but now we're using hyperdilute Radiesse to do the crepey neck. We're using hyperdilute Radiesse for the abdomen to tighten that, for the arms, for the cellulite. You know, so we have these different other applications of it that are considered off-label because it might be FDA approved as a filler, but now we're taking off and doing all these other things with it. The same thing with mesotherapy that I learned initially. It was the use of FDA approved medications and maybe vitamins and other things, but we were using it in an off-label way. But now the medications that we were using off-label are now approved to be used. For instance, which is collagenase, is used for cellulite. Well, I've been using collagenase since 2004. The only difference between what's on the market now is they've added a preservative. That's the difference between what I've been injecting all along. And I've been using a combination of collagenase and other types of mesotherapy medications. I had one patient that came in and she had a sledding accident. She went into a sewer drain, and she ended up with a very large mass about the size of my fist, was the size of her scar. And using mesotherapy, which included collagenase, I dissolved her scar until it was as flat as her thigh. So yes.
Wow.
So these things that I'm doing, they're considered off-label, but now then they become acceptable once they're patented. The same thing with Cobella, which is used for under the neck to dissolve the fat. I have been using the main thing in Cobella is deoxycholic acid. I have been using that since 2004 in mesotherapy. That was injected into the fat to dissolve the fat, but now it is patented and is used for this purpose. So it's an ever-evolving, ever-changing field, aesthetics. And no telling where it's going, but it's always changing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. The industry is always changing. I love it because like I said, there's so many more things that can help patients, and that's the biggest thing. And I'm sure you love that too, as you just said. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, when they look better, they feel better.
Exactly. Tell us one highlight of your career that you are most proud of.
I don't know. I guess I'm most proud of how it's all come together. And now I have a live internet TV broadcast where I can merge both sides of me, my artistic side and my scientific side, and I can give this to the world. I can give this information to the world, and I can leave a legacy. That's what I'm most proud of.
That's amazing. Couldn't have said it, but that's great. That's great. And I'm sure it will be a legacy after all the things that you have created and done and left your footprint in this industry.
Yes.
So I want to thank you for doing that, honestly, because people, like you said, when you started, there was no blueprint. I'm sure people will follow your blueprint for years and years in what you have done.
Yeah, it's a path that it's like flying an airplane and building it while you're flying.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dr. Dyson, for sitting down with me and speaking more about the aesthetic industry. Tell everybody where they can find you and what you got planned next.
All right. They can find me in Washington, D.C. My practice is located at 650 Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast, Suite 250. My website is cflwellness.com, and the phone number is 202-575-4666. 4660. And they can also look at my show, which is Inner Health, Outer Beauty, and that's on Change for Life, Wellness, and Aesthetics YouTube.
Nice, nice. And until next time, bye.
Bye-bye. Good talking to you.
You too.